Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, the legal arguments for Donald Trump being removed from primary ballots in Maine and Colorado. Also tonight, what environmental advocates want to see from lawmakers in the upcoming legislative session. And a Valley mom gets her life back after a groundbreaking brain surgery at Mayo Clinic, Arizona. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
This hour of local news is made possible by contributions from the Friends of PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. The border checkpoint at Lukeville is set to open back up tomorrow. The port of entry was closed on December 4th due to an influx of migrants. The closure was roundly criticized by both Democrats and Republicans in the state due to the effects on cross-border business traffic and the fact that Lukeville Port of Entry provides direct access to the popular beach town of Puerto Peñasco, better known as Rocky Point. Governor Hobbs responded to the reopening as, quote, welcome news, but added that, quote, it's critical that the federal government sends more resources to ensure that this does not happen again. Border security talks are making progress on Capitol Hill. That from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Our negotiators are here now, and they have been negotiating with the administration, who's now very closely involved all over the holiday break. We're making progress. We're closer than we have been, but this is a very difficult issue, and there are still different things, different issues to be overcome with.
But that increase in funding can't come soon enough, according to the head of Homeland Security.
We will not have the resources to perform our jobs as fully and completely as we could do so. We need them now. And that is why the president submitted a supplemental funding package quite some time ago. We need additional personnel to advance our security at the border. We need technology to advance our fight against fentanyl. We need additional asylum officers to really accelerate the asylum adjudication process.
A backlog in that asylum process is a major reason that the Lukeville crossing was originally closed. And one more headline, the U.S. Labor Department reports that job openings fell to their lowest level since March of 2021. The drop is pretty much what economists had expected, and the numbers are in line with other economic indicators as interest rates remain at 22-year high. All told, today's jobs report is another sign that the white-hot economy is beginning to cool down. Donald Trump was recently removed from primary ballots in Colorado and Maine for his alleged involvement in the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. Colorado's decision came by way of the state's Supreme Court. As for Maine, the Secretary of State made the decision there to remove Trump from the ballot. Both states cite the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment ban on insurrectionists holding office as the reason for their decisions. And here to discuss the constitutional aspects of all this is Stephen Montoya, partner at Montoya, Lucero and Pastor, one of our go-to constitutional guys. We're going to you right now here because this is really interesting stuff. All right. Why did Colorado Supreme Court do what they did? Why did the Maine Secretary of State do what she did?
Well, they based it on the article, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, enacted by our Congress immediately after the Civil War in 1868. And it basically precludes anyone from holding any office who has previously taken an oath to uphold the Constitution, but has violated that oath in the form of insurrection or rebellion. The court concluded that President Trump had given aid and comfort to the insurrectionists of January 6th, and consequently, he could not hold office again under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment.
Okay, with that in mind, what kind of proof is needed for a court or a Secretary of State to make such a move?
That's a tough question theoretically. In the real world, it's not that hard of a question, because in this case, you had President Trump on January 6th telling the crowd to march to Pennsylvania Avenue, where a hangman's noose was prepared for Mike Pence. Hang Mike Pence. They were about to certify the electoral vote which is a constitutional and statutory requirement. And he was urging the crowd to march to the Capitol and disrupt that constitutional process, which is, by any definition, insurrection.
That said, there's a line of thought that, yeah, great case, you just presented a great case, really strong, really solid. He has not been convicted of anything, and you need to wait for a conviction before making this move.
That's not true. There's no historical precedent for that. 8 people have been precluded from holding office in American history, and none of them have been convicted criminally of insurrection. But going back to your first question, what process is due? It's the facts are the facts, but he didn't really have an opportunity to confront adverse witnesses, to subpoena documents. He wasn't given a jury trial. He was given a trial before a judge. In the case of Colorado, a real judge, a Superior Court judge. In Maine, he was given an administrative hearing, which is not a trial, before an administrative officer, specifically the Secretary of State. And the problem with Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, it really doesn't prescribe any type of process to effectuate the act. Now, immediately after the Civil War, there was a process because the South was occupied, and a lot of people who had previously sworn to uphold the Constitution were holding offices in the Confederate states. So a statute was passed in 1860, and the United States Army enforced it by kicking people out of office who had held office under the Confederacy after they had sworn to uphold our Constitution.
I want to have you comment on something the Maine Secretary of State said when she removed him from the ballot. Sure. She basically said he was aware of likelihood of violence, took no timely action to stop it. The record establishes what he did, as you just did. Yet the Trump campaign, what about this thought? That removing his name from that ballot or any ballot basically suspends the civil rights of voters.
Well, you don't have a civil right to vote for someone who is not qualified. I cannot vote for the President of France to be the President of the United States. I cannot vote for a 16-year-old to be the President. So that's really not in the realm. You don't have a civil right to someone who is not qualified to hold office. And this is a constitutional qualification under the 14th Amendment.
Wild swing there by the Trump campaign?
A wild swing, but they do have a very strong point. There's no prescribed process for determining whether or not he aided and abetted or gave comfort to insurrectionists. And is that going to be determined state by state? Or is that going to be determined nationwide? Because it's a national election, you would think it would have to be determined once, and that the finding or conclusion would be applied across the country.
Well,
but that's not happening.
And the Trump campaign and the Trump attorneys, they want this to go directly to the Supreme Court, go directly now. How do you see that all playing out?
I think it's honestly, it's one of the most challenging legal issues I've ever thought of, and I think it's a mess. And what I think the Supreme Court is going to do is I think they're going to say, hey, listen, you very well might be right. He might be subject to removal, but Congress first has to pass a law, like setting forth a procedure, a uniform procedure that is going to decide this issue for the country across the board, not state by state, because we cannot have someone who's a candidate for the one elected federal office, the presidency, in Texas, but not in Colorado. That's not the way we elect presidents in America.
That kind of answers my last question here, which is if the 14th Amendment and this application of the 14th Amendment, it doesn't apply now in this situation, when does it apply? Does it only apply once Congress figures out the machinations and the logistics?
Arguably, and that's something Congress has done in the past twice. It's something that Congress could do again. You know, one of the reasons why this is such a novel issue is we've never had American citizens raid the Capitol trying to derail a presidential election. And let's hope that never happens again.
Indeed. And real quickly, last question. If the Supreme Court, if and when they decide, broad ruling or very narrow?
Well, I think it's going to be a broad ruling that in order for this process to proceed, Congress is going to have to act. And because Congress is not going to act, nothing is going to happen. And the ruling from Colorado and the ruling from Maine are going to be reversed.
Wow, very good stuff. Stephen Montoya, attorney, just very fast. It really is. It's amazing.
It's a tough issue.
Yeah,
It's an interesting, fascinating, but very tough issue.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Up next on Arizona Horizon, we hear from environmental advocates about what they'd like to see from the upcoming state legislative session. The legislature is set to get back to business next week at the state capitol, and with that in mind, this week we will be hearing what advocates for a variety of issues are looking for from lawmakers in the upcoming session. Last night we heard from business interests. Tonight we hear from the environmental community, and our guests, Sandy Barr, the Sierra Club Grand Canyon chapter, and Vania Guevara, Deputy Director of CHISPA Arizona, Hispanic Environmental Organization. Good to have you both here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Sandy, we'll start with you. Overall priorities, is water the alpha and omega?
Water is the big priority for sure. We think that it's way past time for the Arizona legislature to do something real about water. We are in an arid state. We know we have less water, and we need to be conserving it a lot better. Instead of creating more loopholes, which they've been doing for the last 20 years, it's time to close them and to limit groundwater pumping and make sure everyone has safe, adequate drinking water.
As far as CHISPA is concerned, priorities, and let's start with water.
Yes, definitely. Well, we think that we just want these bills to be heard. Oftentimes, anything related to climate or environmental justice seems to be dead on arrival, and unfortunately, legislators may not believe that climate change is happening or are sometimes put off by certain terminologies that we face. Anytime we mention environmental justice or anything about racial equity, it's sort of falls on dead ears.
Well, if that's the case, is there an idea, is there a plan to move forward and maybe not have verbiage that would stick in someone's
we've gotten
craw?
very creative and clever, and even worked with legislators who are friends of ours who believe in what we do and the importance of extreme heat disproportionately impacting communities of color. Last session, we introduced our Trees for Kids bill to get funding in schools so that students had access to shade, nature. There's studies that show that it helps learning, it helps actually cool the playground. It didn't get a hearing, but we worked with allies and the governor's office to secure funding to have trees in schools. So there's different ways to go around it, but really we just hope that a lot of these bills get heard.
And Sandy, it sounds like I think I read maybe 20 water bills are already just filed up and ready to go, ready to hit the runway here. I mean, are these water bills that you like to see, or are these, again, are we talking loopholes?
They're mostly weak measures or additional loopholes. We need something much stronger. There were recommendations that came out of the Governor's Water Council. We think those need to be strengthened. There are some things that the governor can also do administratively through the Department of Water Resources. They can send a message to the legislature, look, we're serious about this. We have all the information we need to establish additional active management areas. These are those areas where we limit groundwater pumping. There ought to be more of those. There need to be more limits. It's harming people that have lived here for a very long time.
I want to get to climate issues and clean energy in a second here, but in terms of environmental justice, what does that mean? What do you want to see lawmakers do to get it done?
Environmental justice means that communities of color should have the same life expectancy as those who live in more affluent communities by ways of, and better air pollution, access to healthy water, access to public transportation. And we just see a difference of degrees of temperature of about 8 degrees between North and South Phoenix. And so I think for us, we want to empower communities to get involved because it can be an intimidating place for a lot of our community members. Often, we have members who are working multiple jobs. So it's up to us to make sure that their voices are heard and that we work with allies to strengthen relationships to make their stories, they're the expert of their communities, and to ensure that their stories are being heard so that action is taken.
Is that an idea that years past you wouldn't even have thought about hearing at the state capitol, but now the conversations are going?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's because of partner organizations like Sierra Club, Vote Solar, and a lot of people who are coming together to make sure that communities of color are continually marginalized.
Yeah, Sandy, let's go to the biggie here. Climate issues, clean energy. How much do you expect to see done this session?
Well, it needs to be talked about and it needs to be out there even if they don't take action. But we are optimistic. The governor's office, the governor last year now, 2023, established the Office of Resiliency. And the Office of Resiliency is working on climate action planning. And what we would like to see is the legislature support that work. There are a lot of dollars coming to Arizona from the Inflation Reduction Act that we should be taking advantage of, and we are, but there's more we can do, and the legislature should be helping with that. So whether they decide to get on board with that or not, I can't say. We know that they have been reluctant to in the past, and unfortunately, the same person who's been stopping all the water bills, Representative Gail Griffin, also promotes anti-solar bills each session and will likely be doing more of that this session.
Last question. You got a Democratic governor, obviously Republican legislature, but one vote margin there, so things are relatively, but you also got last year, big surplus. This go around, $400 million some odd dollar deficit. How does that play into all this? Relatively quickly, please.
Well, it means that they will be looking to cut programs, important programs, and we're going to have to make a hard, case for keeping water funding, protecting our water quality, not taking more money away from the Department of Water Resources or the Department of Environmental Quality, because that's investing in our future, and we just can't afford more cuts there. So but it's going to be a tough session for sure.
I was going to say, last question for you. It sounds like environmental concerns, usually they're playing defense down there at the Capitol. You expecting more of the same?
Absolutely, unfortunately. But luckily, we have strong allies in the governor's office with the creation of the Office of Resiliency, and so we're hopeful and hopefully making it work somehow despite the deficit and the strong opposition to a lot of these bills.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining us. We appreciate it. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nicole Phillips was diagnosed with epilepsy as a teenager. Her seizures were controlled by medication until they weren't. Nicole then underwent surgery at the Mayo Clinic, Arizona. The surgery involved removing part of Nicole's brain. The procedure worked, and Nicole was able to resume a normal life. It's quite the story, and tonight we're joined by Nicole Phillips along with Dr. Jonathan Parker, neurosurgeon at Mayo Clinic, Arizona. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us. How you feeling? How you doing?
Good. I'm really good.
That's good to hear. I want to get to your story in a second here, but let's start with the basics. Doctor, we think we know what epilepsy is. What is epilepsy?
So epilepsy is the condition where the brain has unpredictable sort of electrical storms which spread throughout the brain. They disrupt functions like movement, speech, understanding, and can even be associated in rare cases with sudden death. So this is something that we need to treat aggressively, and something sometimes doesn't respond to medication. And when medications don't work to control the seizures, then we have to start to think more about surgical options.
At what age is it most often diagnosed, or can it be diagnosed at any age?
It can really be diagnosed at any age. It can happen in children, it can happen in older adults. It depends on what the underlying cause is, but it can really happen at any age.
Does it always get worse? Does it ever ease?
That's a really good question. Thankfully, in the vast majority of people, medications can control seizures. But unfortunately, in about 30% of people, medications stop working or the seizures become resistant to medication.
Interesting.
And in that 30%, then we have to think about some more innovative options, surgical options to treat that epilepsy.
And I want to get to that option in a second. But Nicole, talk about your history with epilepsy, when it came on. Did you know what was going on? You have to talk to us about this.
So I was diagnosed when I was 14 back in 2008. And I kind of knew what it was, but I only had a couple seizures, and then I got put on medication that thankfully worked. And then about 2 to 3 years ago, I started having seizures all the time. We didn't really know why. It got worse, so I got sent over to Mayo Clinic, and they tried new medication, more medication, and nothing was helping. So that's when Dr. Parker came to me and was like, we need to have surgery.
Yeah, what were your thoughts when you heard about surgery?
I was very scared. I mean, normally, of course. But I kind of felt at ease with it. The team there is amazing. And if I was going to get my life back, then I knew it had to be done.
Yeah, yeah. Describe the surgery, Doc. I mean, it literally sounds like, are you removing a part of the brain and it is now, there's nothing there now? How does this work?
So as Nicole mentioned, we can only do this type of surgery because we have a great team. Dr. Hirth, Nicole's epileptologist, Dr. Richard Zimmerman, another neurosurgeon, we all work together as part of a larger team. So to do this type of surgery, we start with the best information. That means getting the best brain imaging, the EEG imaging. We're seeing a picture now of an MRI scan of Nicole's brain. And we were able to pinpoint with that MRI and with this other information, this other brain signal information, where exactly the seizures were coming from. And then we designed the smallest surgery to actually remove that area of the brain where the seizures were coming from. What made Nicole's surgery so challenging, so risky for the team, is that this little abnormal collection of neurons or brain cells that were causing the seizures were right next to the motor area of the brain, right next to the area of the brain that controls the left leg.
Wow.
In the left leg sensory. So we had to be very, very precise in making sure we preserve Nicole's leg function in doing this surgery.
When you see these abnormalities, is it usually just one? Have you had cases where there are numerous abnormalities in different parts of the brain?
That's a really, really good point. We're lucky when it's just one area and we can treat that in just one area. Sometimes we see multiple different areas of the brain where there's abnormalities. We have options for those patients too. We can stimulate the brain to try to stop seizures. In this case, since it was one, what we call focal or small area of the brain, we wanted to go for the surgical cure to give Nicole the best chance to not have seizures at all anymore. And that was really the surgical option to remove those neurons, those cells that were causing the seizures.
And Nicole, usually when people undergo surgery, it's to get better. Something's bothering them and now it's not bothering them anymore, or it won't over time. But with your surgery, it is to keep something that was bothering you away. So when you woke up and the first day or two, what were you thinking? I mean, are you kind of like, it's not happening, this is
Right.
good?
Yes. It was kind of, I always had in the back of my mind, will it happen?
Yeah.
And it was really crazy that I kind of need to teach myself it is okay. Thanksgiving was my 1 year seizure free,
Wow.
which is, that's huge. So now I think I'm comfortable and I know I'm going to be okay.
Now, was the left leg okay? Did they do a good job on that left leg?
Yes, we did a very good job. When I woke up from surgery, my whole left side, I couldn't feel it at all. So I was like, okay. And Dr. Parker wasn't concerned at all. No one was concerned. They're like, as the swelling goes down, the function will come back. And sure enough, it did. Everything came back. I'm totally fine, feel everything, move great, no issues at all.
Sounds like a total success there, doctor.
It's really because we have a great team, we have great technology. When Nicole was asleep during surgery, we actually used different systems to actually stimulate and map the brain so we could actually see at a very small level, on the microscopic scale, if you will, where function is in the brain. And we use that technology and we use that expert team that we have at the Mayo Clinic to do the surgery safely.
Yeah, and obviously this is something that you do when medication doesn't work. Are we hitting a point where you can possibly do something like this and sidestep medication?
So that's a good question. We're working on things like that. For instance, in my research laboratory, we're working on better ways so we can stimulate the brain so we don't have to actually remove anything at all. There's interest in stem cell therapy to actually try to repair abnormal circuitry in the brain that may be causing the seizures. All of these things are things that we're actively working on to try to sidestep needing to do a surgery where we remove something, which is irreversible.
Yeah. Before you go, we got about like 30 seconds left. Do I understand that you picked up an Arizona Cardinals football player on the side of the road
Yes.
whose car broke down or something?
Yes.
Real quickly,
Yes.
what was that all about?
He was at the gas station. We were getting gas. He called my husband over and said, hey, can you help me out? Are you going to the stadium? My husband said, yeah, sure. We took him to the Cardinal Stadium.
Do you remember his name?
Jesse Luketa.
Jesse, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, that must have been kind of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
You're living
3
quite the
kids
life
were in the
over
car.
there.
Yeah, right.
You got a lot going on
Seizure-free,
there.
now hanging with the Cardinals.
Well, Nicole, congratulations and best of health to you. And Doctor,
you.
thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so
you.
much.
And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
We're here. What a treat. Beautiful. The animals are the easy part. It's the people who cause all the bother.
Yes.
There's so much natural beauty to see and hike in this state.
I've just never experienced a desert like this before. Trail Mix starts right now. I'm Mike Easley. The town of Strawberry is charming and historic at the same time. Most natural bridges are made of sandstone or limestone, which makes this bridge even more unique.
You can hear the waterfall if you're close enough. It goes down to your soul, I think. It's just wonderful all over.
Tonight at 8 on Arizona PBS.